Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Unearth. Today's guest is Sinqo Nyathi, who is the founder of Better Men Foundation, and she will tell you a little bit more about what the organization does. But before we go into that, Sinqo, did you remember to bring something that represents
I forgot. But I actually did. Luckily, it stays in my bag.
As you know, on Unearth, we have a tradition where we ask each guest to bring something that they feel represents their womanhood. And Sinqo has something here today, and she's going to tell us what the thing is and why she brought it.
It's a book. It's a book, one of my favorite, what I'm currently reading, No Holds Barred by Dumisani Nyongolongomo. And what it represents for me is, I believe that as a leader, as a woman, as an influencer, as somebody in the community, you must always read and read to stay abreast, to know what's happening around you. You must read to learn. You must read also because I know everybody is so technological and everybody is advancing, but I still believe in the hard copy text. I actually believe that this is more durable than this technological thing of saving things on iCloud and all that stuff. I think this outlives us. So for me, this is one of my prized possessions, and that's what I believe represents me because I'm a reader.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And that book is from a local
Yes,
author.
yes. It's a local author, Dumisani Nkomo, the CEO of Habakkuk Trust. You know him?
Well, I do actually.
Yeah,
I do, yes,
I'm
I
sure
do.
you should. I'm sure he's a community leader in Bulawayo. So.
Wow. And so, Sinqo, you are the founder of Better Men Foundation.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about what Better Men Foundation does?
Better Men Foundation is an organization for a change that focuses on the boy child. But I've always found that people want me to give an age group to actually say, so you're focusing on the boy child, which age group? It's from birth to death. I think I want people to understand that when we're saying a better man, it's from a boy child, when the time when a boy child is born and up to when they're a man and they're in their older age. Because the whole concept is not about just bringing up the boy child, but also having the older generation being able to mentor the younger, and also for them being able to unlearn probably habits or things and admitting previous mistakes that they can correct in the younger generation that we are presently hoping we can build up. So that's basically what Better Men Foundation is about. It's more of a learning organization, not just learning but equipping as well. Well, it's learning either way, learning, knowledge-based, and all that stuff. Okay. So basically now we've been going to schools. That's where we started from, schools, churches, community halls, where there's mainly the youth. Yes.
All right. And so you are a woman.
Yes.
Working in an organization that deals with men's issues.
Yes.
How's that been?
I'm a mother.
You're a mother.
That's very important to note. I'm a mother, and I'm a mother of boys.
Okay.
Yes. So you cannot then say, because of me being female, I cannot work in an organization or do anything to do with boys. We birth them. We nurture them. They spend a lot of time with mothers first before they are thrown into the communities, before they go to schools. So we have a role to play. And it's so befitting as well that as a mother, I can pinpoint and actually say, something is wrong. in our communities, in our societies, in the home, or in our spheres of influence, if we are leaving the boy child behind and equipping the girl child. So what are we saying about the boy child? That he has it all together. These are the questions I'm always asking. When we are emancipating the girl child, what are we saying? Because the issues that we are bringing to the table concerning the girl child have got to do with the man. I have not seen any issue, even one, that the girl is desiring to be emancipated to or from, that has nothing to do with the man. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Be it the issues are saying, okay, in the issue where they are saying gender-based violence, who is the perpetrator? The issues to do with oppression, who is the perpetrator? The issues to do with lack of equality in the workplace, wherever, or no opportunities for the girl child. Who is involved in that equation? So there is the equation of equipping the girl child completely cannot be solved completely or satisfactory, that word, without the involvement of the man or the boy. So it's so befitting that in our endeavor to emancipate the girl child, to equip her, we must also be looking at what exactly is the girl child's problem, the challenges, and how can this be balanced with the other gender.
Wow,
yes.
That's very true. And how is the community receiving it when you come and approach them and you pitch this idea? Do people see it as something that they
So
need?
what we've done is the initial or meetings or dialogue that we're having, we wanted to find out if the boys themselves felt that there was something wrong. Because in the community, because it's something that not a lot of people talk about. It's not something that's been done before. Because the assumption is the boy has always had, which is partly true. He has always reigned in leadership and has always had more opportunities. And with our cultural background, that is true. But when it all went wrong, or when things turned around and then we found the need to emancipate the girl child or to equip the girl child, there in that gap, what had happened? So a lot of people were not seeing it that way. So I could say some people now see it as, oh, wow. And then the boys now begin to think, but yeah. And more so in the Zimbabwean context, because now in the Zimbabwean context, you'll find that not just even Zimbabwean context, in the African context, more scholarships were being availed for girls and less for boys. Job opportunities, there's the quota system that was demanding that there should be a certain percentage of females that are involved. And the men were feeling, or the boys were feeling, even if the girl is undeserving, she will make it just because she's female, So all these issues, it then started to provoke a conversation that, let's talk about it. Really, is it making sense, and is it breaking ground to be talking these gender issues and emancipating the girl child without turning back and coming to address the boy? To also say, if the girl is feeling this way, what do you think and what's your take? Because it messes up not just our community setups, but it also goes back to the home, the role dynamics and everything. So it's a huge issue. It's not just in the boardroom. It's not just in churches. It's not just in communities. It's in the home. It's in nations. It's everywhere. The issues of female presidents, it starts there. If in the politics they don't believe that a woman can be president or can lead, why? And if we are having challenges, leadership challenges globally, and the presidents are male, what is the problem? Can we have a female president who does better than a man? Should we address the men because the men will always be there in those corridors of power or in those leadership seats and positions? So it's provoking a conversation that is needful and that is necessary to say, if this is happening globally, what are the issues that are affecting communities and the nations globally? So if the man is involved, what are we doing about it?
Wow. And I just hearing you ask some of the questions that you've asked, we're in a situation where we're saying men have done something wrong or they're doing something wrong, and we're kicking them out and replacing them with women, but not addressing why they have done those particular things.
The challenge of then emancipating the girl child without making the boy child understand what you're doing is a problem, because the girl child herself doesn't even understand what she's doing. You see, so it also messes up the whole relationship aspect. You'll find that the divorce rate is high because the boy child doesn't know his place. The girl child is also assuming an authoritative place in the relationship with the gender equality issue of in this whole thing, let's go 50-50. And boys are asking, the young men are asking questions, okay, so if we're now going 50-50, what does it mean? Traditionally, we've always grown up knowing that the man is a provider. So if the girls are now saying they want equality in the office, equality in the corridors of power, equality in politics. So what is our role? And that actually now shows that even in the beginning, prior to this whole role and power dynamics, there was a whole gross misunderstanding about gender roles, especially, well, here we would have to include religion and culture, because when we're growing up, we're growing up in religion, in culture, in society, and in the way that we are brought up. When we're brought up, we always know that our father used to go to work, our mom would stay at home and look after the children. With the changing times, mom was now also going to work, father was also going to work, and then we needed a helper. Do you see? So now so if mom is going to work, dad is going to work, mom probably might be working more hours than dad. Dad spends more time at home, and probably mom brings the higher check. So where does the 50-50 fit in? How does that now work? Or dad loses job, mom is still working. How does that work? So if you are saying that the boy is the provider, so it means if he doesn't work, then it means we cannot stay. So it must provoke conversation for people to come to the table and actually say, why not balance it up? If we will equip the girl child, let's equip the boy child. And if the girl child was having issues with the boy child, is this the response and the appropriate response to respond by equipping without making people understand what exactly they're doing? Yes. Yeah, so because the struggle of power is still there, and it's causing friction instead of solving problems. And instead of bringing solutions, it's causing friction. Because now the boys, you go for a date, he wants you to pay. Or whatever you order, he's also saying, what I order, I pay for. What you order, you pay for. So do you get it? Yeah. So it needs people to come on the table and actually talk and understand and iron these issues out. Because whatever religion that one or whatever one believes in, there's some form of values that also clearly define these issues of roles and gender and issues like that. And we are Christian based. So we also have our stand concerning issues of how we view the boy child and how we view the girl child. And we are not saying, I know what your next question is. I can tell what I'm itching. I know you're itching. And we are not saying that the boy child is superior, right? And we are not saying the girl child is inferior. You must understand that. What we are saying is you are born equal, and in the sight of God you are equal. But when it comes to relationship and in the home, you are not. And that must be very clear, because this is where the confusion comes in. When you are now in the home and there's issues and there's confusion and there's Equality in the home doesn't work in the godly matrix.
So now I'm wondering then,
Yeah.
how do you transition? Because I think that can be very difficult. Like you're at work and you hold a certain position, and like you're saying, you're a Christian person, so you have a certain belief for
Yes.
the home. So
Yes.
now, so vele officing, you're the.
That's
and then
where
now you're transitioning.
that's where the challenge then came with emancipating the girl child. They then didn't make the girl child understand that the equal opportunity that you're asking for is outside of your home. Do you get what I'm saying? You are a wife to your own husband, and you submit to your own husband, but not to somebody who is your subordinate at work. Okay. And also the boy child doesn't get that. Now the boy child who is a superior at home thinks he's also a superior way at work. You see, so when he comes to work, he's head of his wife at home. He now wants to be head of the female colleagues in the workplace. This is where the problem now is. So he needs to understand he's head of his home, not head at work. You are head at work, subordinate at home. If you are able to define those roles and you know that when I get home, I'm under somebody's authority, then we've got no problem. It's a matter of understanding. And besides, I believe where there is love and trust and relationship, these issues are never really a problem, you know, because people understand each other. You understand your role from the onset. But with today's generation, oh no.
I was actually about to ask that.
Yeah.
Like, you can see the generational differences.
Yes, a huge
and
one.
What does that look like for, say, your mother's generation, your generation, and then the generation after that?
I think my generation is in the middle. My generation is one that can actually bridge the gap between the 2000s, you know, the 2000s and the 90-something, and my mother's generation. My mother's generation also had... were more of the ones who were left in the oppressed bracket. You see, my generation was the generation that took up the baton of the women who started with them to say we want emancipation, but we are able to then bridge the gap between these ones who are absolutely crazy. Because the generation after us is like, it's
crazy
like, you know, I'm doing my thing. I pay my own bills. I do my own hair. I drive my own car. Don't tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is fine, but it has its place. It has its place. But I still feel, and I'm always emphasizing to people that there was a misunderstanding of what that actually meant. And because there was a misunderstanding from the female side, it caused a misunderstanding, from the male side as well. Because also if you are a 2000 and you're going to get together with a man who is not in your generation, your understanding is totally different. So that causes friction at the end of the day. Because you're not coming from the same generations. You have not brought up the same way. Your understanding of situation and your worldview is different. Right. Yes. Right. So you'll find that these are issues that if they are not addressed and spoken about openly, they don't just affect the home, but they affect the community. Yeah. They affect the workplace, and they affect corridors of power and leadership places where leaders sit and they feel we cannot be told anything to do by a woman. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the people who are in leadership are my parents' age group. Remember, who have this worldview that a woman cannot tell me anything. I cannot sit next to a woman and a woman cannot be my boss. And those are the people that you have in leadership. And even if this woman is coming up and has got good ideas, and they will not accept. So now why don't we go back and, if possible, get this leadership or this system, this belief system, to unlearn some things and relearn, or to compromise. You know, it's sort of, we're bridging a gap, and we're trying to say, okay, you feel this way, you feel this way. How best can we solve the challenges that we're having in our communities? Because either way, what remains is, as we leave this boy child to find his own way, we are finding out in the communities that a lot of households have no father figures. There's no uncles, there's no male figure. So who do you expect the boy child to learn from?
Wow.
So you see what yeah.
So I want to go back something that you've mentioned, and I think it can be controversial in some spaces.
Okay.
And this is the issue of submission.
Okay.
So what is submission? What does that look like when you talk about it?
Okay. One thing I must tell you is that submission is not limited to relationship between male and female and husband and wife. Submission is as commanded by the Bible. We submit one to another in reverence to the Lord. That's what scripture says. I submit to you as my younger, you submit to me as your elder. We submit one to another. You submit to him as your brother, she submits to you as your sister. That is very important. We submit one to another, not for our own glory, but in reverence to the Lord. And then when you are in a relationship, the roles, it's mainly to create order. And we can't defy God's order. And that's why I kept on saying that submission is in the home, not outside the home. Submission is to your own husband. But then now, it doesn't mean then that because you're submitting to your own husband, outside there you're disrespectful. That is the reason why I put a disclaimer initially to say we submit one to another in reverence of the Lord. That what we do is we are considerate of each other. That is the reason why it does not make sense to me that a boss should abuse a subordinate, a male boss abuse a female subordinate, because you should be submitting in reverence to one another, even if that female is your subordinate. Even the female bosses, it's not the male bosses that abuse females. Female bosses will also abuse the male. You see, people need to understand that. And unfortunately, in our societies, boys don't talk and men don't talk. And they take it as a weakness that if you've been abused in your sphere of work or in your workplace, it to be shunned upon or looked upon as a weakness if you confess or if you speak out that you're being abused. And there are some women who will go out there that they actually want to show that they are the ones in authority, they are the ones in you see. So men do get abused as well in their places of work. So submission applies to each other relationally, but more so in the home, to maintain order, and so that there's a smooth understanding. Because if the Bible says, I'm the head of the church, I'm the head of the husband, you're the head of the wife, that's what it is. It's controversial in the sense that if a man is your head as a female, it doesn't mean he needs to abuse you. It just means that in decision making, where probably you are not agreeing, his word is final. But it's very difficult nowadays because you'll find that sometimes, fine, you might say that there is the decisions he makes are unreasonable, or there are some men that are very difficult to submit to. Yes.
I think that it also means that as a woman, if you're going to choose to partner up with someone long term, then you need to be very sure.
You need to be able also to your communication, your lines of communication, because I know that's what the challenge, the issue of submission usually comes up. But I think if it comes with understanding, it's not going to be abused. Because, you know, when you talk of submission is written in Ephesians 6. The Bible says, wives, submit to your own. I keep on emphasizing husbands as Christ submitted to as the church submits to Christ, right? And then he says, husbands, love your wives the way Christ loved the church.
You know, I feel like that part,
that's part what they don't understand.
That people keep skipping out.
Do you know why? He loved the church to an extent that he laid his life for her. In a matrix and in a place where a woman is loved and celebrated, do you know what? she submits automatically without anybody having to mention the word submit in the home. So the challenge sometimes comes when a man doesn't know how to love a woman the way Christ loved the church. He loved the church to the extent that he was willing to lay his life down for her. So if men actually understand what submission means, they wouldn't want even to hear the word. They would actually want to say, no, this issue of submission, we don't want anything to do with it. Because it means whoever is submitting to you, you should be willing to be their cover to the level and to the extent that you are willing to die.
Yeah.
To lay down your life. Can you love someone enough that you're able to lay down your life for them? So if they knew, they wouldn't even cry, say, hey, submit to us. If they knew what it entails.
So is this something, you mentioned how in a lot of households, there's no man, there's no uncle, there's no father. And so would you say then that is what then creates the gap that men don't understand?
Yes. You know what, role? Boys, some things are taught by teaching, some things are taught by catching. Men mostly get taught by catch. It's what they catch. It's what they see you model, what they see you do, what they see you drive, what they see you wear. That's why you find these role models, these musicians and the pastors, the papas, will have so much influence on the boy child. You find them doing the hairstyles like them, now wearing the same things, wanting to drive the same car, wanting to wear because that's what they think is cool. So then you can see that they learn from what they see. It can be taught verbally, but it's mainly what they see. So what they see is what they are going to exhibit. Their behaviors are based on what they are exposed to. If they are exposed to 50 Cent, you find their trousers here and their earrings here, and because that is what they're exposed to. This is what they see on a daily basis. So if there's no one to model what a man should look like, so they're now picking it from where? From the streets, from TV, from whoever male influences in their lives who's not in the home. So that's where the gap is. So, and then we then say, who then should they learn from? If there is no uncle in the home, there's no father in the home, there's no, so their teachers at school become those role models, but you find teachers are overwhelmed. They've got more than 50 students in one class and they're teaching, so they can't really give that undivided attention to one boy, or something like that. So the gap is there. The gap of fatherhood, the gap of uncle, the gap of role models is there. And so as Better Men Foundation, the desire and the hope is that at some point we're able to create these spaces where, what can I call them, support, places where even boys who need that kind of support can find support, can find a group of mentors or men to walk with them through. Because this is a repeated cycle. It keeps on, it's a vicious cycle. You're not addressing and you're not looking into these issues and this gap. We're going to have the same problem and we're going to be crying about the same things over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as Better Men Foundation, you might not get the opportunity to catch some people young. So it's like maybe at a later stage in life.
Yes.
And how does that work? Someone is already maybe past their teens, they're already in their early 20s, maybe in their 30s. Is it possible to still mold someone?
I think anybody who wants progress, anyone in life who wants progress, must be willing to change. Must be willing. Culture is dynamic. Change is happening like this. So if you are not willing to throw away some behaviors and some belief systems that are not working in the 21st century or fourth industrial revolution, you will not be relevant. Not only will you not be relevant, but you will just live. You'll just be like that person who's living to die, because you'll find you'll struggle everywhere. You'll struggle in the home, you'll struggle in the office, you'll struggle in the community, you'll struggle in your places of work. Because everything is changing, globalization, everything, cultures, the mixture of cultures, of different cultures. So you have to be somebody who's willing to learn. And you've got to be somebody who's willing to throw away some behaviors and belief systems that don't benefit you, especially if they are not values, you know. So that's basically what we hope, even in the later stage, if it missed you, but then if we can provide a platform and that opportunity, that there are people your age probably who've managed to learn or relearn or unlearn. Can you also, especially if you're going to be in a position of influence or leadership, you definitely have to be somebody who's dynamic as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as Better Men Foundation, would you be able to support, for example, if someone is a single mom, or they feel like they have sons but they don't have father figures?
That is the intended outcome, eventually, to actually have support systems that, especially the boys who've got those gaps, at least there is a pool of men who are able to be there, maybe take father figures, take mentoring roles, whether they'll take that physically or even by providing some form of support to these boys, maybe raised by single mothers, or some who just child-headed homes, or stuff like that. Is one of the intended outcomes of Better Men Foundation, that eventually will be able to provide such platforms and support systems.
Maybe you could you've said a lot.
I have. I have.
You could maybe leave us with one message. If someone was to just remember one thing from this conversation, what would it be?
What if I want anybody to remember this, actually, is that, yes.
So this show is I'd say our bigger audience is women.
Okay.
I want this video to be for the men.
You wanted this video to be for the men.
So I want this whatever you're going to say.
Well, let me actually say something to be directed at both.
Yeah.
I actually want the females to know that a boy's life matters, and the men to know that they matter, and that they were put in the positions that they were put in, not as abusers, but as protectors. And that we care as Better Men Foundation about their feelings, about who they are and who they want to become. And that society needs them, society relies on them on most of the challenges that are faced by society today. And that it's important and it's crucial for the boy child to take his rightful place. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Snow, and thank you for watching.
Having me.
I hope you got at least one thing to take away from this video. I personally have a lot. And yeah, till next time, thank you so much for watching.
Tell them to go and like our Better Men Foundation page on Facebook.
Foundation on Facebook.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.